Hello everyone and welcome to the Anime Exterior, and today we'll be talking about episode 111 of Yu-Gi-Oh! VRains, entitled Wanting to Fight Each Other. So then, we basically start the episode off where we left off with a little bit of a recap from last week's, just in case you forgot. Now, I'll talk more about the duel in just a second, but first let's talk about some of the new cards that were introduced to us. So, from I, we've got a ritual monster, which is Water Leviathan at Ignister, which it has quite a few effects. And some of the effects are, kind of broken in some sense. Now, I will admit I'm not 100% invested in the actual card game itself, so when I say something's broken, it might not be, but to me it just seems overpowered. So, its effect. Basically, once it's summoned, return any monsters on your opponent's side of the field whose original attack points are less than 2,300. So this obviously clears Akira's field, which has his sort of lesser monsters linked to his main monster. Okay, fine. Plus, when it attacks a monster or when it does any sort of battle, the attack points of your opponent's monster are halved. So that in itself is quite difficult to get over, especially if you've got Judgment Arrows connecting to it, but because it's just a ritual monster, Judgment Arrows isn't affected. Because it has to be in the extra monster zone, not actually in the back row. So Judgment Arrows doesn't link to it. As well as the fact is, you can also return all of your link monsters from your graveyard to your extra deck. And for every link marker you send back to your extra deck, your opponent's monster loses 600 attack points. So, Dark Templar, Fire Phoenix, and Link Rebo basically add up to a total of 7 link markers. Therefore, Akira's ace monster, Cerberus Tindangle, I think that's what it was, would lose 4,200 attack. So when you add all those skills together, just for one ritual monster, it's pretty powerful and very convenient for this duel, as it were. And this is kind of like the first gotcha moment where you think that I's going to beat Akira because his new Leviathan, Water Leviathan at Ignister, is much higher in terms of attack points than Akira's monster, thinking that he's going to finish off. However, we get shown a nice showcase of protection from your tag partner. Because this is a 2-on-1 duel, Akira uses the trap card that Aoi placed last turn to basically save himself. So then, another monster that we got introduced to was a Link 4 Marinus, Great Bubble Reef. Now this monster's design was pretty decent, I quite liked it. I quite like the Marinus sort of archetype. I think it suits Aoi as a character really well, and I do like the designs for him. So after summoning this new Link 4 monster, we get to see some more of what Blue Maiden is known for and what she's good at, and that is effect damage. Thanks to her trap that saved her brother, she can also banish one level 5 or higher Marinus monster and deal 100 points of damage to her opponent, creating this loop as to where Bubble Reef gains 600 attack points because of her effect, because whenever a monster is banished, Bubble Reef gains 600 attack points. And then I takes effect damage, and this repeats, slowly chipping away at Ai's life points. But this is also used so that Aoi can get her Bubble Reef monster up to an attack point value where, even where her monster is halved, she can still finish Ai off. Because, remember, Water Leviathan at Ignister halves your attack points when you attack it and when it attacks you. So, she gets her Link 4 monster up to 5,000. So obviously when it's halved, it's 2,500, meaning it's more than Leviathans. Pretty good strategy, and for the most part it works. However, she takes it a step further in this, showing us that she's actually a really good duelist still, and that what she displayed against Bowman wasn't just a one-off and wasn't because she was with Aqua. So, she has another card, and this is another star card of the episode, and that is Clown Tail. Basically, this gets banished a lot with the effect of the trap card, because it's a level 5 plus Marinus monster. And basically, another effect that this card has is that it can banish itself, not by using the trap card, but just itself using its own effect from the graveyard, causing the effect that states, for each different type of Marinus, 1000 battle damage becomes 0 per link marker, giving her a great cushion to fall on if I has a counter. Because I has a face down card, and if it's something like, I don't know, move this monster to the back row or something, then Judgment Arrows would come into effect, and it will create a situation in where Blue Maiden might take battle damage. So she kind of preps for this and basically has this in place as a counter, because she has a total of 6 markers in the graveyard, meaning that if I's monster gets to 6,000, the damage still remains at 0. So pretty good forward thinking. And we hear from Pandora throughout that, she warns us about I being very good at escaping danger. So this is why Blue Maiden obviously has this plan set in motion. Nevertheless though, I isn't one to fall for these kind of moves, and his trap card actually deals effect damage, which deals damage equal to the difference between the 2 attacking monsters and then double the damage. So because it's effect damage, Aoi does take it because her Clown Tail only negates battle damage. So this causes Blue Maiden to lose, and what follows was just fantastic. We get a very touching scene with Aoi and Akira reaching out for each other and vowing to be together forever. They both feel like they're going to be, deleted, vanished, disintegrated, whatever you want to call. But this is where I basically seeps more into his role as a villain. Even more so because he only erases Akira, leaving Aoi alone to feel the same pain that he himself felt when he failed to protect the ones he loved. This is just brutal. This shows that as a character and as a villain, I stepped up his game a lot more. He was all about seeing what the bond between Blue Maiden and Akira was, and how strong that it was, and whether or not it could stop him. Because I has a very good line in this episode, right at the beginning, that sums it up very nicely. And that line was, "Let's see who's stronger, someone who has something to protect, or someone who has nothing to lose." Obviously, from that statement, the person having someone or something to protect would be Aoi and Akira, and someone who has nothing to lose would be I. So he's constantly testing the 2 opponents that he's up against, and this is how he sort of ends it off. It's just fantastic. I love the way that they've done it, because it shows great emotion from all the characters involved. So then, thanks to this brutality way of dealing with it, this situation can go 2 ways for Aoi as a character. Number 1, she could completely, be destroyed, and this is the last we could see of her. As, she hasn't been the most stable character within VRains in terms of a character's theme. At the beginning of this series, we saw her be quite shy, quite timid, always inside her own shell, not wanting to branch out and talk to anybody. However, she has had some brilliant character development already, so I doubt that this would be the case. Another way they could go would be that it could come back to bite I in the booty later on within the series, as Blue Maiden might want to get revenge, or she could be feeling down and kind of depressed by the situation, but somehow she gets a message from Aqua. And, Aqua is pleading with her to try and convince her to go back out and try and save Ai. This is just how I can see the situation kind of unfolding. One or two ways. If you have any other suggestions, what are your thoughts? Then let me know down in the comment section below. Because there's often a case where something happens to the main female within Yu-Gi-Oh! And then towards the end of the series, we don't tend to see them do anything ever again. I'm hoping that's not the case though. Because Blue Maiden, Aoi, whatever you want to call her, she's a great character and she's done quite some good things in VRains so far. So I'd hate to see this be the end for this character. Okay, so overall, this duel wasn't too bad. I liked the episode as a whole for this week. I liked it more than last week's. However, we didn't see much in the way of Akira doing anything throughout this duel. We saw him take down Fire Phoenix, but this week's episode very heavily focused on Ai and Aoi. However, we did see some great showcasing of the bonds between the brother and sister combo, and some good development for Ai in the villain department. So I'm not going to criticize it too hard on that, because I know last week I did state that I wanted to see more of Akira and see what he does and how he handles situations. But the route they've gone, I think is good, and you know what, I quite like it. So, we'll give him a pass on that one. But I think this is the last time we'll probably see Akira do anything in terms of dueling. So to see him lose both times that he duels is a little bit upsetting. Now, like I said earlier on, this episode has some good lines in it. And the example I gave earlier was I stating that he wanted to see if someone who had something to protect or someone to protect was stronger than someone who had nothing to lose. That was a great line, and it just gives us a standpoint as to where Ai is at the moment. A lot of emotion was shown in this episode from Ai getting frustrated, confused, and quite sort of happy and sinister. And we also get the kind of emotion of the Zaizens wanting to help each other out, and of course, with the ending of Aoi being upset and distraughted. And obviously, like I said, the two desperately trying to comfort each other before vanishing. So from an emotional standpoint, this episode kind of did try and pack everything in. The only problem I had with this episode were the spectators. They didn't do anything in this episode apart from trying to sound overdramatic and stating the obvious so that we as the audience didn't have to use our brains. Basically, every time like a calculation or an effect was happening, it would go to them and they would explain it. At the end of the duel, Soulburner, Playmaker, Revolver, they all just got angry at Ai and stated the obvious, like they're going to beat him or, whatnot. I like Revolver's line though, where he says he now has no hesitation and that he will destroy the Dark Ignis. And remember, at the end of the Lightning and Revolver duel, Revolver seemed to be coming around to the idea of Ai being a good person, because he calls him Ai instead of the Dark Ignis, and he seems quite friendly towards him, and the fact that he said in this episode that he has no more hesitation meant that those feelings that he had after losing to Lightning are kind of vanishing quite quickly, and it's understandable. And throughout this entire episode, and I think throughout this entire ordeal, Revolver has not called him Ai once. He's always referred to him as the Dark Ignis, which is what he did before the Lightning and Revolver duel. So, we get a showcase of Revolver a little bit in terms of where he stands, so that's all pretty good. The animation overall was pretty decent in this episode. There was nothing too bad. Some of the faces were slightly janky, but you know what? You can't expect everything every week to be perfect. Sound effects and voice acting, again, great from the participants in the duel. And from the emotional standpoint, Ribapi was pretty cool, nice and cheerful like always. Spectators, again, quite plain. They had to try and act over dramatic, but it just come off as being, quite obnoxious and quite boring, if I'm honest. but oh well. So if you haven't watched this episode yet, or the episode before, I would recommend to go and watch them because they are pretty good. And if you like Blue Maiden and you like Akira, then you're definitely gonna like the two episodes and this duel overall, because we see some overpowered stuff, some great lines, good animation, great sound effects, and the emotion is jam-packed. So without the way, I'm going to end this review right here. Now, if you've enjoyed, smash that like button, subscribe so you never miss a video from me, and we've also been announced that Yu-Gi-Oh! 7 will be coming out somewhere next year. So I will be having videos relating to what I think or what I would like to see from that coming up in the near future. So make sure you look out for those. But other than that, I hope you'll have an amazing day, and well, I'll catch you all next time. Bye for now.